The sky turned black, the stars fell down. United we stand, but we're losing ground. One world beneath the iron fist. Voices silenced, they cease to resist. Echoes of hope in the darkening night. Fading whispers of a long lost life. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust. A phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. The sirens wail through the desolate towns. Once proud nations painted in the scars of the crown. A single army marching on our dreams. Unity forged in despair, or so it seems. Nothing left but shadows drifting away as the last embers of freedom decay. Rise up, hear the call to arms. In this storm of chaos we'll find our charms. Together we'll fight through the ashes and dust. A phoenix reborn in our hearts' purest trust. One global army, together we stand. In the fall of the world, we'll make our last stand.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Supernatural Sunday Morning Coffee Talk. We made it. It's Sunday, guys. And things have been pretty intense all week long, I think, for everybody. It's been a weird week. That being said, our topics today are we're going to have the open mic section too for today, okay, to bring you all back in because yesterday was very interesting. But we're going to get into the Hat Man, Shadow People, and the Mothman, and what they all have in common, okay, and basically get your personal encounters and pick Eric's brain and my brain a little bit and everybody else in the chat. And by the time we're done today, we should be pretty well worn out and ready for a nap. So that being said, I'm going to get into the disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer is this channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it falls under the Fair Use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel declare fair use of any and all content. YouTube, remember that. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, which makes allowances for for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and let's not forget the entertainment value for Nighthawk High Strangest podcast channel. All right. And then I got one more I'm going to put up here. Actually, I'm going to put a couple more up because I'm covering all the bases today. As always, I claim fair use of all content under the Copyright Act of 1976. Furthermore, I wish to acknowledge that all opinions and theories mentioned during the podcast are not necessarily the opinions or views of the Nighthawk High Strangest podcast channel, or AKA me, William Nighthawk. We at the Nighthawk High Strangest YouTube channel and Facebook channels merely bring the open format to discuss the possibilities of the topics happening in our past, present, and future. Please join the Nighthawk High Strangest YouTube channel family by subscribing and hit that like button, please. Okay. Join the chat family, be respectful, and please put all questions in capital letters. Thank you. All right. And I went over this, several other podcasts, and I still want to keep it going, helping out Hannah with Scott's passing. I think it's important that we step up. And if it's, heck, even if it's a buck or two, man, anything helps, right now for her. So greatly appreciated if you can go to his GoFundMe and that Peggy Seward set up and give it a shot, okay? Donate to help Hannah get back on her feet and not feel so alone. So, all right. That being said, rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. Okay. Anyways, good morning, everybody. And I got Fluffy with some kind of fur ball on his shoulder. Oh, there it goes. Just jumped off. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what my daughter calls her. I just call her Mouth of the South.
This. Anyways, we are going to get into the Hat Man. Let me put a picture up here. I always like this picture. I don't know why, but it just kind of threw me for a loop. I kind of liked it. It kind of has that Southwest flair to it for some reason, or the what do they call it? The apocalyptic outback type of a look to the Hat Man. And we all know when we talk about the Hat Man, we got to talk about, who? We got to talk about the Mothman. Okay. And why? Oh, hell, I don't know. Why? Probably because of the red glowing eyes that are reported. That'd be my guess. So, what I'm curious, okay, is anybody's encounters with shadow beings, shadow people, Mothman, the Hat Man, anything that you have personally encountered, okay, as far as that goes, or anything along those lines, things disappearing in front of your eyes and then moments later reappearing, that kind of stuff. Weird, off the wall, kind of shadowy stuff, okay? Because trying to make the correlation to reality in this world compared to the multiple dimensions, if you can understand that that idea, trying to see the slightest detail differences in each occurrence that everybody's been having, and if they've noticed something different from their original encounters from currently today. Okay, so that being said, let's welcome Mr. Eric Fluffy Testerman and his room full of putties there.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of putty tats.
Oh,
Messing with Roxanne in the
you better watch it. She's probably got her chompers glued in by now.
Oh, she tried to claim that she's doing hut cleaning, and I was like, yeah, I know what your hut cleaning is. Yeah, wink, wink. Yeah. Oh man.
And we've already gone off the rails. We haven't even started, and we've already gone off the rails. Wow, that's pretty
I
good.
derailed that thing and got rid of the track.
This okay. Well, today's subject, being so dark and mysterious that it is, I am interested in everybody's encounters and your own encounters too, Eric. But at the same time, we got to remember that anytime a bloodline goes away or fades away into the shadows, it always panics and tries to pull you or your reality in with them. Okay. And that's one thing that I've come to experience and learn throughout my walk in life when I deal with the shadow realm. Okay. What most people call the veil, like I said 100 times, I call the shadow realm. That's just the way it is. It's that thin part of a dimension that is between parallel worlds, if that makes sense. Okay, it's kind of like when you get done baking a cake and you lay that frosting down on it. That's your world that you're on, that frosting level, and the body of the cake is the foundation of the planet or place that you think you're on. And then when you lay that wax paper over it to protect it from whatever you're protecting it from, that's the shadow realm. That's what you call the
What
veil.
flavor is the icing?
No, it don't matter to me. As long as it's fattening, I don't care.
What is it? Is it that cream cheese? Not that fluffy stuff. Was it the cream cheese icing, whatever that's called? The really rich and sweet stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chocolate would be best though for me, energy level wise. But you got to look at it this way. Every day you wake up in this body, you got to realize that you are spiritually naked within the worst cosmic storm that you will ever experience in this shell form, okay, of a human, with no shelter in sight. Okay. They give you little bits and pieces. The ones that control this world, this realm, give you little bits and pieces to latch onto, to think that it's a life-saving device. Okay, like a rope being thrown out to a drowning man. That's that's how they keep you on the hook. Okay, and that's why we're talking about what we're talking about today. And I'm really interested in getting everybody's inside information. So, have you had any dealings with shadow people or the Hat Man in particular at all, Eric? And then we'll get into possibly
Well,
bringing some people on.
I mean, as far as shadow people, I've seen things that you can describe as being shadow people, or the actual shadow people. I probably not. It's more for me. I think what it's been is the not a full manifestation, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times, like in
Mhm.
the paranormal field, your most common manifestation you're going to get is either a white or a black shadowy figure. You won't ever, I mean, when I say you won't ever, most of the time you will not get a full bodied apparition. Generally, it's that smoky stuff. Now, people classify that as a shadow person. I do not. That's just me, how I look at it. That's my opinion, my theory. I don't. I classify that
Well,
as a
let me ask you
partial.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me ask you this though, Eric. Okay, I know there's a bit of a delay, but when people experience the mist, do you think that
Mhm.
it could be one of two or even a couple different things? Like maybe they're just not at a level frequency and personal vibration wise or gifted wise to experience the true form of that shadow, and they're just seeing that energy mist formation? Or do you think that it's not of a particular aspect of the shadow realm?
I think it could be a little bit of both. I mean, I can see on your first point, I can see that as definitely being a possibility. If these things have power levels like most things have, some things are, the younger they are, the weaker they are. The older they are, the stronger they are. Is that what we're running into? Is a younger one that is not as powerful as some of the older ones, and that's what we're coming across. I can see that as a possibility. Is it just dipping its toe into our realm, and that's what we're seeing? I can also see that being a possibility.
Yeah.
Misidentification is another one. I mean, both of those points are very valid, and I can see both of them being possible. Definitely, yeah.
Well, it's been my experience. Excuse me, my voice is going on me. It's been my experience
Ah,
growing up in a haunted house and on a very paranormal property, charged property. That I mean, I experienced shadow beings and the shadow realm every day of my life growing up as a child, and even into my adulthood, and even currently today, more now today than ever. Um, but I remember, you know, when you're not really paying attention, it's usually shadows shifting in your peripheral vision. You're just out of sight, but it's something's moved, something has changed in your peripheral vision in the shadowy area of what you're observing with your peripheral vision. And I almost liken it to it. You see, humanity is taught to look at things straight on. Okay, look at things head on. Okay, and even some people are taught, by parents or educators, put blinders on and just concentrate on the road ahead of you. We've all heard that line. Okay, and that's not the way to be. Okay, if anything, you need to enhance your peripheral vision so you can see more of the shadow realm, if that makes sense. Because looking at something head on gives you just a frontal view. Okay. If you want a wide angle view of the world around you with multiple dimensions happening simultaneously in the same spot you're standing in, you want a wide angle viewpoint. You want to be able to capture as much information as possible. So if we teach ourselves to look to our left and our right without moving our eyeballs from being focused straight ahead, you can actually strengthen your eyesight that way. Okay, your reactivity, your
mhm.
eyes reactivity to that. And I usually do it by just what I'm doing right now. I'll look and I'll at one focus point in front of me, like say a picture on a wall, and I'll take my hands and I'll just, move my hands off to the side of my head on both sides until I can't see them anymore. And I'll just keep on focusing on them as I look straight ahead. And you'll be amazed. Sometimes your hands will go behind your head and you'll still see your hands. It's really something when you teach yourself how to do that. Okay. So I chalk it up to more of a visual effect, being able to have the ability to comprehend what you're seeing. Because, like I said, we are taught, you read left to right, um, top to bottom, and just concentrate on what's in front of you. Driving a vehicle is the perfect example. They tell you to watch your left and your right side, but they want you to focus on the road in front of you. Okay. So that's almost like a training simulator as far as I'm concerned, teaching people not to have the ability to interact with things outside of that visual spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you got to be able to to see things from other point. God, come on, honey. You're The other points of view, you can't just look at it one sided. When you look at things one sided, you never see the full picture. When you never see the full picture, then you never see what's in front of you. You know, it's like the old saying is, you can't see what's in front of you if you're always looking behind you. Well, you can't see what's in front of you if that's all you're looking is at everything else but what's there. So, hey, Bounty. Um, so I mean, you have to keep that in mind. You know, like we kind of hit it on a little bit yesterday. There's times when you subconsciously, mainly when you're asleep, that you slip into that dark realm. You know, we all have the ability to look within. Just a lot of us are more in tune to it than the others because we've forgotten how to do it. And there's times like I'm guilty of it. I think that could be a reason for part of my realistic dreams is the fact that I um, subconsciously went into that dark realm on some of the stuff, like
Mhm.
when I was fighting demons, or I was seeing this weird planet with these weird things on it. Definitely, definitely a possibility. But you could also see things, and you could do it awake too. You honestly you can do it awake too. It just seems to be most common when people are sleeping.
Yeah, yeah, or that just before you get completely awake feeling. It's that
Hmm.
it's that time of the morning when you haven't even really wiped the sleep from your eyes, that you are just on the cusp of completely waking up, but yet you're still sleepy. It's that
Yeah.
feeling, that frame of mind. So and it's something that one thing as being Native American, we're taught not to even use our eyes most of the time to actually see things. That when you see things, you're not seeing the true form. Okay. That if you see with your heart, which is literally what you're supposed to see with, you will see more. Okay. So, that being said, my one encounter that sticks with me growing up in the haunted house and on the property that I grew up on, was playing as a little boy outside. And I must have been probably, I'd say, I wasn't even in kindergarten yet. Okay. But I was around that age. I was getting to that point, that age. And the most vivid form came from a tree, and it literally walked out of the tree. And as it walked across between the two trees, there was two trees on my property, and they were probably, looking back at it, they were probably about 60 feet apart. Okay. And they were the closest trees to the house. Okay. The rest was all like woods around the back and stuff, and swamp area and all that. Um, but from the tree on the right, on the tree on this side, this tall, lanky looking, completely black figure stepped out. And mind you, this is broad daylight. This is the shiny part of the day. It was probably around noon, so it was the highest point of the sun being in the sky at the time. And this thing stepped out, and it was completely black. I mean, it was really black, and it didn't show any signs of hair, so it wasn't a Bigfoot or anything. Okay, it was literally just a dark black. Okay, like I'm wearing this hoodie right now. Okay, literally that color. And anyways, it literally stepped out from behind the one tree, and mind you, I didn't see it going to the tree from the right side of it to get to that tree. Okay, I saw it literally come out of the tree, the backside of the tree. It stepped two steps, okay, like it was gliding on air, and went in to the other tree and looked out behind the tree to watch me. Okay. Now, there are things out there that Native people call tree peepers. And this is one thing I want you to bear in mind. Okay. Sometimes, in fact, most of the times, when you are dealing with an elemental and they physically show themselves to children, especially, they're going to show themselves in a form that is more appealing to the child so the child doesn't get scared. Okay. Because they know from the child's energy whether that child's gifted or not, okay, to see things, okay, and all children are gifted, just like animals are, especially dogs and cats, okay. um but I especially was gifted because of my near-death experience, a couple years earlier at being 3 years old. So I was highly charged into seeing things as a child, okay. So it's my belief from my interactions over all these years with the shadow realm that some of these shadow beings that we're seeing, especially the ones outside, are connected to the environment. Okay. If you have a shadow person within your house, that's not to say an elemental can't come in your house, because they come in houses all the time. Okay. They the house was there long after the elemental that is in shadow form was part of that environment, okay, long after. So technically you're in their house, okay. So, and we say the same thing about Bigfoot, ironically. So, but yeah, it's really something. When I saw that, and I wasn't even shook up at seeing it, you know what I mean? It was that obvious to me. It looked like a excuse me, it looked like about a 7 foot tall basketball player wearing all black, but no facial features, no eyeballs, no nothing, just all solid black. Okay. And I think that was them letting me know that I was going to be able to see them. Okay. And interact with them more at that point in time in my life as a child. So, and only from that on, things escalated exponentially in my life with dealing with the shadow realm. So, and like I said before, I've seen everything from, there's these jellyfish that are over there. I call them jellyfish. They're like not a perfectly round spear, but they're more like a okay, perfect one would be like a bell. Okay, picture a bell with tentacles coming off of it. Okay. And that's literally what they look like for the most part. The easiest way to describe them. Okay. And what they are is they are the ones when you physically feel drained, when you have problem and pressures and pain on your shoulders, okay, and on the back of your neck, or you have that headache back here on the back of your head, that's literally them, your energy, because they are literally energy vampires. Okay. That's what they are. Okay. When people tell you they feel drained, ask them where they hurt. And odds are most of the time they're going to say it's the upper torso of their body. Okay. Usually the shoulder area from the deltoid, and to the back of the head. Okay. So when they answer you in that fashion, you know darn well that there's an energy vampire in the room, and that's why they're being drained. Best way to get rid of them: fluctuate your energy. Okay. Stand in your faith, fluctuate your energy. There's something to be said about the body's energy field around it. Okay. When you put your arm out, okay, and you do this, well, you try to push down your arm, okay, and you can't, because obviously you're strong enough to stop yourself from pushing your arm down or having a friend do it. But you take that energy and you move that energy out from your arm, okay, in that kind of emotion, pushing it away from the body and out of the body, your arm goes down. Okay. It's that same theory. Whenever you have that kind of a physical drain, you take your energy, your chi, whatever you want to call it, and you take your hands and you release that energy out of the body. Okay. And that breaks the connection. Okay. And if you do that enough and you get used to feeling that energy around you, you can control it pretty good. They read your energy just like some cryptids do. Okay. We talked about that previously. Mothman is a good one for it, guys. He can read your energy. Okay. Because your vibrations you're putting off. Mothman, I've said it before, not a cryptid, not a flesh and blood cryptid. Okay. And again, this is my opinion. Okay. From my research. But when you're dealing with something like the Mothman, reports of it and all that, you're dealing with something supernatural. Okay. You're dealing with either a once divine being or a still divine being. Because remember, divine beings can be in scary forms. Okay. One of the worst encounters that Ezekiel ever had was with an orphan, an angel with thousands of eyes on it. Okay. And, as he described it, it was a bone chilling experience for him. It frightened him. Okay. Some of these beings, these divine beings, are so powerful that if you look at, you'll burn up, literally, in flames. So this is the type of supernatural beings that we are experiencing, but I think we're experiencing a little lower level ones, okay, ones that are more earthbound or just part of the earth's energy force, okay, the earth's life, mother earth's life force. And that's why, sometimes when you see and you're dealing with shadow beings in the environment outside, whether you're out camping or all that, um, that's why you're experiencing these things. And that's why I tell everybody, when you go out camping and all that, go out in a good way, man. Don't go out, all nasty and mean. Don't take a bunch of, don't leave a bunch of trash around, be respectful to the land, be respectful to the wildlife. And I'm telling you, when you do that, only good things are going to happen, and you're going to enjoy your experience a lot more in the environment. Okay. A lot more joyful interaction instead of mean and aggressive. Okay. And those of you that have done paranormal investigations, you know darn well what I'm talking about. So, what do you think, Eric?
Yeah. Uh, hmm, a lot to take in and think about. It's I'm trying to think of a good way of putting it, but I mean, this is stuff you don't mess with. I mean, it really you don't mess with it because things from the shadow realm can wreak havoc on your life, and
Exactly.
you have to be extremely careful what you do. And I've seen a comment in there earlier with elementals need to pay rent or get out. Well, I don't want elementals to get out. I like the elementals that surround me because they're protecting me. They're taking care of me. At the same
They were
time,
here a lot longer than you were. So, whoever said that comment needs
at,
to wake up. The elementals have been here a lot longer than humanity. This was their world first.
at the same time, if you upset them, they can raise literal hell in your life. So
Yep.
you have to be careful. You have to be extremely careful on that type of stuff. We did have three questions. I've got them starred whenever you're ready to answer them. But we have to keep that in mind. We really do. I mean, there's a good, the bad, and the ugly out there, and we have to learn how to discern the difference between them.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
not every shadow person that you run across is going to be supernatural. It can be paranormal. Not every single one of them is going to be paranormal because it could be supernatural. I mean, so you got to learn how to basically your feelings, your instincts, tapping into that energy is going to tell you quite a bit of them of what you're dealing with. So that's something, if you can tap into that, that's going to help you out. Now, at the same time, and I've made this clear before, I've been on what I thought was a paranormal um, investigation, because that's what, I was called in for. That's what the energy felt like. But at the same time, uh, getting into that investigations where things went south quick. And what it was is there was a trickster spirit. It fooled me into thinking, when I did the initial investigation to get a feel of the area, it felt paranormal, and end up later on it wasn't paranormal. And they're known for doing that. They're tricksters. A lot of them are tricksters. Not all of them, but a lot of them are tricksters.
Yep.
So you have to
Yeah.
keep that in mind too.
Well, and one thing you got to keep in mind too, though, when you're dealing with even a trickster spirit, okay, um, you don't want to. Trusting is a very very hard thing to do, especially when you're dealing with something supernatural. Um,
Hmm.
but when you are open enough to communicate with the supernatural, when you are open enough to experience and interact with the supernatural, whether it's shadow beings, butterfly people, or another one that have been seen, um, you know, you're dealing with something that if they have a malevolent um, purpose for being there, you're going to feel it. Okay. And that's
Hmm.
where your training comes into play. The same thing I taught you just recently this morning with your eyesight and the energy around your body. You need to do the same thing with the way your heart reacts to things. Okay. Because your heart's going to sense the danger before the rest of your body does, because it's going to send a signal to your brain. Okay. So you have to really build your ways of interpreting your environment and the things that are within your environment around you, of putting off that danger energy feeling, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. Josh, I want to comment before I get to the questions. I both agree and disagree with this statement, and I'll tell you why. I agree. You're not buying protection from these beings,
Mhm.
as a lot of people like to say, but you give them offerings and you pay them respects, and that's when they will do it. So, in one aspect, yeah, you could say it's buying, but I agree with you. It's not buying what a lot of people are saying. You have to show them respect and give them offerings.
Well,
It should be the looking at it.
yeah, I put up a post yesterday, late last night, on Facebook that was just basically a phrase, and all it was memento mori. Okay, death is
Mm-hmm.
merely a doorway. Okay, and that's all it is. Okay, death they focus on that so much as, oh, those are dead people that you're seeing, when you see a shadow person. No. No. Okay, it's not. All right, it is an ancient energy that you're seeing when you're dealing with something in shadow form. Okay, it has either been in the shadow realm and never been here physically, okay, at all, because they were never human, and they specifically were designed to live within that veil, okay, or they're from another dimension higher up, okay, or from a shadow realm within another veil between two parallel dimensions, okay. So because with every dimension you're going to have a thin veil called the shadow realm between them. That's literally what it is, okay. So you could
It's
be
like
dealing
a
with
doorway.
something. Yeah, you can be dealing with something that's much more powerful from another dimension, shadow realm, than the shadow realm that you're currently interacting with in your world, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when the druids interact with the elementals, they had no problem knocking on trees and calling forth the elemental and asking favors of them. So offering them, paying them for protection is not a way to do it. Okay. You don't do it that way. And if you look at it that way, it's a way that you shouldn't be looking at it, because you should be looking at it more in a good way. Okay. Because it's like I've always said, if you want good things to happen, you've got to go forward with good intentions. Okay.
Mhm.
So, giving gifts is not a problem. All right. So you're not idolizing the figure that from the shadow realm. You're not worshiping the figure from the shadow realm. You're merely interacting with them. Okay.
Paying it
So
respect.
exactly. You're paying it to do respect, and in return, you're wanting it to pay you to do respect that you're due, which is in turn, maybe they will help you out. Maybe you'll be on a hike one day, some couple years in the future, and just God forbid you fall down and have a stroke. Okay. Your heart starts pounding, your chest starts hurting, your arm goes numb, and you're laying there in the middle of nowhere with nobody around you. Well, maybe, just maybe, that elemental is going to use healing spirit that it has, healing energy, and help you through that. Okay. That's
Look how many videos you've had of somebody on a near death deal, and some type of shadow figure came and saved them.
mhm.
Think about that when we're talking about this topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's what I
Yes.
was hitting at on that. Josh was that aspect right there. Is now money, they're using money, and that's yeah, money to the things of nature. That's a human thing. That's not a
Right.
nature thing.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the ancient well, I mean, that's you know eh, there's an old thing with voodoo and hoodoo that money plays a role in it. A lot of the spiritual beliefs of piracy from the Caribbean would put out rum and all this and money and stuff and gold and silver, to pay their way through certain deities. And you're not dealing with an elemental when you do that. You're dealing with something that was human based or something demonic. Okay, plain and simple. So money has nothing to do with elementals. Don't want to go out and buy a brand new you know Bugatti motorcycle or a BMW. They could care less. Okay, they don't need to buy $1 million mansion. Money to them is worthless. Money is just trash to them. So if you want to gain the respect of an elemental, you interact with them in a good way. You offer tobacco, you offer feathers and ribbon, to the environment. You pick up the trash in the environment and just say that this is my way to say thank you. You don't even have to say it out loud. Just say it in your mind. This is my way of saying thank you, you know, and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at what happens. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
We did have a couple questions here. The first one was
Okay.
from Riley. Can they be interdimensional visitors, neurological phenomena, or hallucination? A little bit of everything.
Well, first off, in order to hallucinate, you got to have something physically wrong with you. Okay. So you would be able to read your own biometrics if it was a hallucination, by feeling dizzy, feeling nauseated, woozy, you know, that feeling of being tired, wanting to fall asleep, passing out. Those are all symptoms, before you have a hallucination, basically. Dehydration is another one. Um, with mirages in the desert. Okay. Your mind just tells you what's there, interprets what's there, and it's not actually there. Okay. So that being said, you're dealing with something that possibly is either is 100% interdimensional. Okay. And I can say that wholeheartedly because when we talk about the thin veil between the worlds, between the parallel universes, the parallel dimensions, whatever you want to call it, okay? God knows there's a million different names for them now. You got to understand that, like I said, in between every parallel universe or every parallel dimension, you're going to have that thin veil, that shadow realm, encasing it, okay, separating it from the next level. Okay. So you're going to, like I said earlier, you're going to have shadow beings that could be 10 dimensions above yours coming down into your realm because they have the capability. Okay. Which are going to be at such a high frequency that you won't be able to hear them. Usually it'll be like a clicking sound or a I don't want to say cricket, but almost like when you hear a bumblebee in flight, okay, from its wings flapping so fast, or a hummingbird. When you hear that vibration, that's usually from a very, very high dimensional being or a very, very ancient dimensional being, okay, from a shadow realm. And it may not be your shadow realm, your veil between your dimension and the next one above yours that it's coming from. It may be 120 or 30 more away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
Uh,
just trying to,
yeah. So we touched on that yesterday. Everything puts off a vibration. Like when you're using a parabolic mic, you're going to hear it better than you can with a naked ear. But everything puts off a vibration.
yep.
So the next one was from Riley too. It says, "Can it be related to sleep paralysis or brain's tendency to fill in visual gaps?"
Now you're getting into an area where, you either believe in science or you believe in faith. Okay. Um, I'm more faith based. Okay. If I believed in science, I would have gotten the, what. Okay. And I didn't. And I'm already, at death's door anyways with the cancers and stuff that I have. So, if I can survive, not getting that and still be here after everything that everybody's gone through, that should prove to you that science really isn't all it's cracked up to be. Science is pure speculation from gathered research, okay, which is the same thing that we as paranormal investigators, supernatural investigators, and cryptid investigators do every day of our lives. Okay. Everybody that has done some sort of an investigation knows that within that you need to have your research and your development part of it, okay, to figure things out. Okay. And to me, science fails there. Okay. Because with science, you're dealing with something that is put in this nice, neat little pretty box. Okay. Whereas with the paranormal, supernatural, encrypted fields, you're dealing with something way outside the box that most people that have a scientific brain don't want to step out of that box to investigate and find out the real facts. Okay, so you have to depend on it's. I think the best way to do it, if you're science based, okay, and this is nothing against anybody that's a science teacher or a science professor or a scientist in a lab. My hat's off to you guys. You are trying your best, but you're dealing with an education system that has programmed you. Okay, programmed you to look at things in one way and one way only. Okay, that you don't use your other senses when you look at things. Okay, you're trying to just do it with your mind. That's not what that is for. Okay. you can't find rationalization for a lot of things. Okay. So instead of making up something and saying what it is when it isn't, perfect example. Let's talk dinosaurs. That's all I got to say. Okay. Because when you're dealing with some, I mean, they didn't have photographs of them back then. So how do they know that they're putting these things together, in the right manner? You know, so it's the same thing with that. It's the same thing with the mermaid theory. They said for hundreds of years, in the early days, sailors would see mermaids out in the ocean and stuff, in bodies of water and all that. And everybody said, "Oh, they're crazy. It was hallucinating. It was, you were overworked and tired, and you thought you saw what you saw." Now today, they're finding out that mermaids are real. I mean, you if you base all your results off of science and don't think outside the box and look further outside the box, then you're never going to get 100% of the facts you need to figure out what's going on. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I was replying to a comment. Last one, also from Riley. When you was talking about your shadow person experience, he asked, you felt scared? So he was
No,
asking if you felt scared when you saw it.
no, never. I have never. The only time that I actually had a bad experience growing up was I was outside, and I'm not even really sure if it was a shadow being that did it or not. But I was in the backyard. In our backyard, it was a hill, and it was probably 60, 70 feet, in elevation going up gradually. And above it was a swampy area. And we used to get a lot of snakes and stuff from the swamp, copperheads and stuff like that, coming down into the backyard. So I'm not even sure it was a malevolent thing. I think looking back at it as a child, I think I was like 7 years old, and I got picked up by something. Okay, and it wasn't human. Okay, and this thing tossed me to the side. Okay, now it didn't do it aggressively, like throw me 30 feet in the air to break my neck. It literally just slowly picked me up and moved me off to the side, and instead of placing me back on the ground, it literally dropped me about 3 feet, okay, onto the ground, about 10 or so feet away from where I was at, okay. And as I turned to look back, it was a shadow figure, kind of like the same one that I saw previously, okay. And the only thing I could comprehend at that age, at 7 years old, was that it saved me from something. It protected me because I was so focused on playing with, my cars and my trucks and stuff in the dirt, like little boys do, um, that I almost got this feeling like it saved me from possibly being bitten by a snake that was nearby, if that makes sense. Okay. And I honestly think it saved my life.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is supernatural can definitely be physical. And they're more physical than paranormal. But I have had an instance where like paranormal. I don't know if it's because of her love for me or what, was able to do things that usually is not on the scale of paranormal. And that's when my late grandmother, my very first ever physical experience with a ghost was my late grandma, and she picked me up and held me in the air, saying, "Eric, I love you. I'm always going to be there to protect you." I was kind of scared that night. Watched a scary movie. I was asleep at the head of the stairs, at top of the stairs, because I wanted to make sure that mom and my half brother's dad, which was my dad at the time, uh, can keep an eye on me. And
Yeah.
literally, I woke up floating in air, looking over, seeing the full body apparition of my late grandmother saying, Eric, I love you, and I'm always going to protect care of you. I can't explain why that paranormal activity was at that level or not. The only theory I have is because she truly did love me.
Yeah. Any other questions?
That was it so far.
Okay. I'm going to get myself
Riley, I
another
hope we, yep. Riley, I hope we answered your questions for you, bud.
As far as I'm concerned, in a lot of my interactions with the shadow realm and shadow beings, um, up and including, even the Hat Man, the only evil that I've ever really felt wasn't with shadow beings. It was with an interdimensional type of a being that wasn't from the shadow realm. Okay, it wasn't from that thin veil between the dimensions. It was from a dimension. Okay, which was alien. Okay, to me, I would consider alien. And at about 10 years old, I was sleeping. I had metal bunk beds in my small bedroom, growing up. The old military style bunk beds, the old metal ones. Okay. And I always liked to sleep on the top bunk. Okay. So I was laying there and I was just getting ready to go to sleep. And I know some people will say, oh, it was sleep paralysis and all this, and it wasn't. Okay. And I'll explain why in a minute. But I was laying there on the top bunk of my metal bunk bed, getting ready to fall asleep, and it was probably, I don't know what time of night. It was late. I probably should have been in bed a lot sooner. Let's put it that way. Okay. But in my house growing up, I stayed up waiting for my dad to come home because he was a truck driver a lot. And he usually would get home between 12 midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. So I would wait for him to come home so him and I could talk at the kitchen table a lot as a child. And that's where I learned a lot of the stuff that I've learned from my father and all my uncles growing up, is sitting at that table talking to them. Okay. I learned a lot about my heritage, about my the way I interact with things, everything. And anyways, make a long story short, my mom came in to check on me, and I think she said it was around midnight. And she said I was sound asleep, but she said as soon as she opened up the door to my bedroom, okay, she screamed. Okay. She said she literally saw me floating off the bed so far that I was literally up against the ceiling. Okay. So when she screamed, my father came rushing in. Okay. He saw me floating off the bed and up against the ceiling. He literally grabbed my body, shoved his arms between the ceiling and my body, and pushed me back down on the bed. And he laid on top of me, keeping me on the bed until whatever was trying to pull me through the ceiling didn't find any success in doing it. Okay. That is literally one of the things that I experienced growing up. Okay. Now, I know for a fact it wasn't a shadow being. Okay. I didn't physically see what was doing it, but I had a feeling that it wasn't of this world. Okay. And when you have that feeling, and those of you that have been in a lot of alien encounters, okay, or UFO encounters, whatever you want to call them, that feeling I'm talking about. That gut feeling that tells you something is not right. This thing is not from this world. Okay. So, he literally held me for about 5 minutes on my bed until this whole situation stopped and they woke me up. And mind you, I was sound asleep. I was sound asleep. I remember dozing off. I remember feeling like, man, I feel really tired. I'm just going to go to sleep now. And I remember because I turned on my side a little bit and I looked at my closet, and my closet door was open, just a crack. Okay. And I had this feeling that I was being watched. Okay. And, not even to chill down the spine type of feeling, just kind of a sixth sense feeling of being, being observed. Okay. Like somebody looking through the glass at the gorillas in the zoo, if you know what I mean. Okay.
Mhm.
That kind of a feeling. And, the next thing I know, I'm being woke up, with my dad lying on top of me telling, and my mom, being frantic, is he okay? Is he okay? Um, and they both explained to me, once they got me out of the bed, you know, and out to the kitchen table, they both explained to me what happened, and this was at that time when I was thoroughly awake. It was probably a little bit after midnight, probably about 12:15, 12:20. And that was the only time that happened, but it was not a shadow person that was doing it. It was not of this world.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, I don't look at the veil like a lot of people look at the veil. What we call the veil, I look at it as like a doorway or a window. There's times you can look into it, and that's the window effect. You can look in, you can see what's going on, and that realm looks similar, but also looks very different in a lot of ways. Whenever you're able to enter it or come out of it, that's a doorway. Because a veil is like a curtain; it hides it. Well, it's not hiding anything. We're seeing this stuff, so it's more like a window and a doorway, and that's just how I look at it. Because you can. Everybody can look in it. Everybody can go in and out of it if you're trained and prepared. Like for me, I don't want to. I don't have a strong enough medicine to keep me safe entering that realm. Yes, we're allowed to enter it and come out of it, but if you entered it and you don't have the proper protection, you're going to get jacked. So you don't
Well,
you don't want to
that's
do that.
why yeah, that's why I tell you, you gotta work on yourself. You gotta continually train yourself, literally. It's
Mhm.
like a prize fighter getting ready for a fighting match, for a
Mhm.
boxing match.
Yeah.
You literally have to practice what you're experiencing. You have to stay focused a lot. You have to envision things. Instead of growing older and forgetting about your imagination, you need to embrace your imagination. Okay,
Mhm.
because your imagination is a gateway to opening up yourself to experiencing these other gifts that you are supposed to have, if that makes sense. Okay, you literally have the power within each of you to control your energy, to control your vibration, to enhance your vibration and frequency, and to teach yourself things. Okay, that's the whole purpose for Christ coming here. Okay, the
Mhm.
whole Christ consciousness thing. Okay, the whole unconditional love thing, the whole standing in your faith thing. You know, if we are beings that were divinely inspired and made by a creator, don't you think that creator is going to give us certain inalienable gifts? Okay, certain
Yep.
certain spiritual gifts that we like, the gift of discernment. Okay, so you have to figure that in with everything. Okay, and you have to, when you walk in your life, see, and that's why I get so pissed off and angry at society, because the ones that are in control of society, okay, I don't even want to say the world, because honestly, this isn't their world. Okay, you can't own something that you didn't make. Okay, it's like I said too, you can't sell your soul. You can sell your spirit, but you can't sell your soul. You know why? You don't own it. You don't. You own your spirit. You can sell your spirit, but you don't have to sell your soul. Okay. So consider that. Um, the creator owns your soul. He's the one that created you. Unless he's willing to give your soul up, guess what? Your soul's staying with you, buddy. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. Okay. But you can sell your spirit. Your spirit is something that God gave us, and it's called free will. Does that make sense? Okay. Your ability to have free will encompasses your spirit. Your spirit is what you can astral project yourself with. Your spirit is something that you have that sense of deja vu. Okay. That's your spirit. That's not your soul. Your soul is old. Your soul is divine energy. Okay. And the only one that can own it is the one that created it. Okay. You are merely the captain of that ship, my friend. And you have the ability to either sink that ship or to sail that ship to the next horizon.
Yeah,
Give me a
it's
second.
that's not a problem. Yeah, I was reading Dead Wolf's comment, which is something I don't want to put up there because that might get you in trouble. So that's why I was kind of reading it before I popped it up. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Dead Wolf. But you don't forgive people for their sake; you forgive people for yours. That's
Exactly.
something that we forgot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in my life that I've experienced that I shouldn't. I mean, Dead Wolf, you're talking to somebody, my friend that that fought for the American Indian movement. All right, so bittered, angry with non-indigenous people that I literally held a 30-30 rifle against them. Okay, that I stood up against the mascot issues of sports teams. That I I removed stuff from museums and returned them to the indigenous people. Okay, this is has had the bitterness was always a part of me. Okay, and 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 that's why the darkness embraced me so much. And my mother, who was the dark witch of the family, being Cherokee and Shawnee, that she embraced that darkness for the longest time growing up and taught me the ceremonies. Okay, so I had a choice. I could either hold on to that bitterness or I could heal myself. And at that
Mhm.
point in time, I felt, you know what, I had done enough for the people. Okay, I've sacrificed enough for the people. I've protected the people by casting spells and calling forth certain entities to protect sacred grounds or to scare people off from being, near Native American, you know, land that is supposed to be sacred. Okay, these are things that dark medicine people do on a daily basis. Okay, we used incantations and ceremonies and created things and basically made things happen
Mhm.
to scare the non-indigenous people away from certain areas of our world. The sacred Black Hills are one of them. Burial mounds all around the United States are another way. Even cemeteries. Okay, a lot of people wonder why they see cryptids in cemeteries. Walk the tombstones. Check out some of the names. I guarantee you got some Native American people in there that have some very powerful bloodline. Dark medicine people were called upon in order to protect the energies of those people buried in the ground. Okay. First off, Native people aren't supposed to be buried in the ground. When you're buried in the ground, you're creating that soul contract. Okay, it's a way of permanently connecting you to this world. Okay, so you have to think about that. Okay, I basically got out of the negativity. Because I had so much of it being in the military. Okay, sorry, I'm having a hard time breathing right now. But I experienced so much negativity and heartache in the military. That's why I have a hard time dealing with military brothers and sisters that pass, because I know what they experienced. If that makes sense to anybody out there. So, in order to get out of that negative place of being, I stepped out of the darkness altogether. I gave up on the hatred and waking up angry all the time and hateful and went at it a different way. I picked up my flute and I played my flute a lot. Raising that vibration. And again, raising the vibration, the further you raise your vibration, the further you are from darkness. So, we have to. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say, I'm going to try to break this down Barney style for everybody. It's a simple fact. I mean, regardless, it don't matter what side of the spectrum you sit on or not. Simple fact is, when you are negative, you invite negative into your life. When you are positive, you invite positivity in your life. So when you have nothing but a shit storm going on in your life, you're negative, and you're allowing that negativity to enter within you and around you. You have to be positive. You have to keep your positive mind, positive heart, positive soul, positive energy, positive vibration, frequency, whatever it is you want to call it. You have to keep that up in order to combat the negativity. At the same time, there's that old Native American saying is if your soul is off kiltered, then there's nothing but pain and heartache in your life. You need to recenter your soul. You need to find that place of that positive energy. You need to go there. You need to meditate. You need to concentrate. You need to recenter your soul. Like there's two places on
Exactly.
this planet I've been where I can go that I feel the most power, the most magic, the most energy that I could go and recenter my soul. That's this property and in Pineville, Missouri. Find your place to recenter your soul.
Exactly. Find your, and there was something I said a couple nights ago on a podcast that I'm a firm believer in, that if you want more positivity in your life, then just take your shoes off and walk outside. That's all it takes. Feel Mother Earth's heartbeat. Feel her heartbeat. Feel her pain. Feel her pain and her crying and her suffering. Okay.
She speaks to you, folks. Listen.
Yep, exactly. So, anyways, do we have anybody?
That's a good point you brought there with Mother Earth. Think on this, folks. How did you feel when your mother took you in her arms to comfort you when something was bad? That's what mother is. Mother is the nurturer. Mother is the life bringer, the nurturer, the caretaker. That is mother's responsibility. So you need to look at Earth as the same thing. She's your mother. Go to her loving embrace. Lean on her during the times of sorrow, of pain. Let her take you within her warming, loving embrace so she can nurture you and care for you. People have forgotten that concept.
True. Very true.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. I heard a pause there. That we got that about 4-second delays there, so I apologize.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
That's a good point there too. Actually, William and I has talked about that several times. Jason, take off your shoes and reground yourself from Mother Earth. I would take that a step beyond that. Not only do that, do like I did. I got a grounding mattress for my bed, so I'm constantly being grounded, and I've seen such an improvement. Hey, Larry, I've seen such an improvement in my life by doing that. My negativity is extremely low. My health is up. My energy's up. The pain is virtually gone within my body. Grounding is extremely important. We are energy. If you don't ground, that energy wants to explode and erupt out of you, which causes a lot of mayhem in your life. Ground yourself. Ground yourself with Mother Earth. Ground yourself when you sleep. Ground yourself. There's a reason why native people slept on the ground. It wasn't because they didn't have beds. They can make beds. They were human. They weren't dumb. Oh, Larry, you're awesome, dude. Thank you so much. You're badass. Larry sent a $5 super sticker.
Thanks,
Said,
Larry.
"Good morning, happy Sunday, and prayers to y'all." They
Thank you,
did
Larry.
it because
That
when
means
you
a lot.
sleep, heck yeah. They do it because they know when you sleep, you need to ground as well. You're closest to Mother Earth on the ground.
Exactly. Yep.
Whenever they passed, they were put on sometimes they were put on a stilt. Sometimes they were put in other different ways, depending on the tribe, depending on the practice of the burial. You return to Mother Earth. You become part of that great circle of life. The great circle is simple, people. It's birth, it's childhood, it's adulthood, it's death. You return.
And again, it comes down to the whole basis of you don't own your body, you don't own your soul. Okay. So your body returns to the earth. You're made of the earth. Okay. Your creator took you from the earth. Okay, made you from it. So of course you want your body to return to it one way, shape, or form. But your spirit can come back and be recycled, okay, through certain beliefs around the world, which I believe also gives you that deja vu feeling, of when you experience something. And, so, but I'm a firm believer that your soul, if deemed worthy, that's the key, okay? If your soul is deemed worthy to move onward, then your soul moves on, your spirit stays. Your spirit, a lot of it, okay, perfect example of spirit, okay? When you're on a paranormal investigation, 80% of what you're gonna record is called what? Residual energy, okay? That is literally your spirit, okay? That is your spirit because it was familiar so much and interacted with a certain location or a certain family or a certain spot in this world time and time again that it got routine and felt comfortable being there and a part of it. That's your spirit. That's the residual energy. That's your spirit. Okay. Does that make sense to you? Okay, because your soul's onward, and your soul, your spirit's always going to know your soul. Okay, your spirit is always going to know your soul, plain and simple. And just as much as your soul, being a divine energy creation, is going to know every aspect of every life that you have had. Okay, so that's where a lot of this, deja vu comes into play. A lot of this Mandela effect comes into play. A lot of these glitches in the matrix come into play. That's reminders or indicators that you have experienced something previously. Okay. And that you still have that capability. Okay. Eventually, your soul and your spirit will rejoin itself. Okay. It's not proven, but eventually anything can happen with your soul because of the divine energy that it's made of. Okay, anything is possible. Okay, so when you deal with that aspect of it, I mean, even in the ancient spiritual practices around the world, I don't want to call them religions, okay, because you're a whole nother animal when you talk religion, okay, but spiritual practices around the world, especially with indigenous cultures, were so centered around the environment and around taking care of the people, not yourself, the people, all of your family, okay. And that's one thing that they're not teaching humanity anymore. That's, these churches that you go to and stuff, and I'm not saying anything's bad with a church. If you belong to a church, it's your prerogative, okay? But, you know, the money changers got kicked out of the temples, okay? And somehow they got back in. That's all I'm going to say about that, because religion has changed. Okay. When you go from having a preacher that was penniless, standing on a box in the middle of a city covered in smog, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ without a church, wearing tattered clothes. And now you have preachers flying in multi-million-dollar aircraft and living in multiple multi-million-dollar mansions. Do you think that's religion that God intended? No, it's not.
Well, and people for stop teaching the essence of creation. Okay, they've turned creation into an evil word, and I think that's wrong. I really, 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 really believe that's wrong. People forget. This goes back to the whole circle thing again. We were created from Mother Earth. We grow, we go, and we get old, we pass away, and return to Mother Earth. The deer, the buffalo. I mean, so many things eat the grass that just comes from Earth. And in essence, we also feed upon them. We're all part of the great circle. All of us are. You know, we are meant to do these things, and we're meant to return back, just like we're meant to help. Our brothers and sisters of the animal kingdom. We're all together. What one does affects everyone in that great circle.
Celia's got a good point there. You definitely can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. And that is true.
Exactly.
But, you have to be able to have the capability of taking care of others. You have to have the unconditional love to want to take care of others. Okay? If you don't have that within you, then you don't have that without you. As within, so without. As above, so below.
Before you answer, William, because I know you know this too, I want to ask the chat, what is the true purpose of a warrior? There's a reason why I call myself a warrior. I don't call myself a soldier. I call myself a warrior. What is the true purpose of a warrior? This is why I write this in my books quite often. I want to see who on chat knows. I know William knows. But before he answers and before I answer, I want to see what you guys think. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Cecilia. That's one aspect of it. Feed the clan is what Josh said. That is one aspect. Soundwave, that's the other aspect, to defend and protect. Yep. You both are. Yep. Protect, defend innocence. Absolutely, Bounty. That is good. Hunt, protect, guide, spiritual. Good idea, Josh. So you guys are correct. You guys are broken up, but you're correct. A warrior is not someone who just fights battles. A warrior defends the defenseless, helps the helpless, and protects the weak. That is
Exactly.
the job of a warrior. A warrior didn't go out and hunt just for his lodge. A warrior would go out and say there's an elder that can't hunt no more. He would hunt for them as well. They were a family. It wasn't
Yep.
just a tribe, it was a family. The elder was called grandmother, grandfather. The adults were called mother and father. The children were called brothers and sisters. It wasn't, hey, it's Running Fox's kid. No, that's my kid.
Well,
This is
In the Lakota language, we have a word called oyate, and we have a belief
Mhm,
called Mitakui Oyasin. And
mhm,
Oyate means nation. Okay. And we look at ourselves as one big conglomerated family. At least we did in the old days. Um, Mitakui Oyasin means we are all related. Okay. We are
mhm.
all connected in one way, shape, or form or another, which means we are all family, which is why the warriors took care of the family. So,
Yeah, and that's why I say that quite often. I don't look at myself as a soldier like I once did because I learned the truth behind what soldier is. I was never a soldier. Now, do I
mhm,
write soldier in my books from time to time? Yes, because that's what people's familiar with, and some people's mentality is different than others. That's why you got to separate them. We are warriors.
mhm.
You know, I'm always going to put my life on the line for somebody who needs it. I'm always going to try to help someone who needs help. I mean, if I got the ability, I'm going to do it. You know, I got a good brother of mine. I love him to death. We've been friends since I was 16. He gave me my road name. We've literally spilt the same blood and the same mud, just different time frames. And he's a Marine as well. I mean, he's a damn good brother of mine. I've bought him food when he was in need, and he's literally driven in a crap ton of pain, could barely walk. Has literally driven to bring me food when I needed it. That's family. That is
Mhm.
people. That is a tribe.
That's Mitakuyo Yasin. That's
Yes.
Mitakuyo Yasin to a T. That is
Yeah.
all related. All my relations. That's
Yep.
family.
There's a reason why I call William my brother because he is my brother. We're not of this. Yes, we have similar blood running through our veins. He's got more, definitely a lot more than I do. But that doesn't mean blood is blood.
Yeah,
Family is family.
exactly. Exactly. And to go even further on that whole thing too, though, when we talk about, you see, there's an old thing with being Native American that that when the non-indigenous people came to this land, they ignored the teachings and the warnings from the indigenous cultures of this land for such a long time. And a lot of the time, and a lot of the bitterness that the indigenous people have towards these non-indigenous cultures that came here and their ancestors hundreds of years ago, um, is because of the disrespectful nature that they came here and intent with, and taking what wasn't technically our lands. We were caretakers of the land. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. Okay. They miss
Mm,
that connection. Okay. When it came to treaty signings back in the old days, the Greasy Grass Treaty, take that for one. Okay. With the Lakota people and the Dakota and Nakota people. Um, you know, one of the first things that was said was, you can't own the land. Why do we have to sign a piece of paper saying that we're giving up our land to you? We don't own it. It's the creator's
mhm,
land. We're only the caretakers of it. Okay. Which makes that connection to the shadow elementals even more powerful. Why do you
mhm.
think native people can communicate with the shadow realm so well, because we were caretakers of Mother Earth. We are the original caretakers of this land. And if you think that our spirit, once we leave this body, doesn't protect this land, then you have got another thing coming. Okay. That's the makeup of it. Okay. That's the sacred connection that white man can't get. Okay. And when you pray and you go to church and you put on your Sunday best and you go out to your restaurants with the family and think that you're sitting in the pew singing 3 songs and listening to, you know, some guy preach about a God that most of them are so far from they can't even recognize him anymore. And it's sad.
Mhm.
It's a sad, sad, bitter place to be. I'm not saying don't believe in Christ. I'm not saying don't believe in God. I want you to believe. But I want you to believe that you don't have to go like Christ was telling us and go and be in a building that is so cold and so unappreciative of all of God's things that he's done for humanity in the thousands and thousands of years. The sacrifices of his own blood, his son. Okay. That sacred connection. And that's what it's about. When you're dealing with Native American people and any other indigenous culture, even around the world, you're dealing with that sacred connection. Their spirit is here to protect this world, this earth, Mother Earth. All right. Our soul is here to worship our Creator, to protect our Creator, to speak positive and praise our Creator. That's what our soul's responsibility is in this world. Okay. There is a definitive difference, and a lot of preachers don't realize that. Okay. And I'm not a preacher. Okay. I am an ordained minister, by the way, okay, of the Native American Church, but I'm not an ordained preacher. Okay. What we need to go back to is the original teachings, the original belief that when you walk with God and the spirits, you're walking with them 24/7, 365. It's not just on Sunday. It's not just on Wednesday night. It's not just on potluck dinner night on Tuesdays. It's not on prayer breakfasts on Saturday morning. You're walking with the Creator all the time of your life. And when you make that connection, that spiritual connection, by going out and enjoying what he made for you, the beautiful Cathedral of the Pines, the beautiful mountains, the rivers, the oceans, and interact with his creation by being one of his creations, you'll make that connection. That connection will be so positive and so strong, you will feel the Creator around you all the time. And he will give you gifts of spiritual belief along the way, spiritual gifts that'll give you the gift to see things that some people and most people can't and won't ever see because they got blinders on. Just my belief. And that's just my belief.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to make a point here on a comparison that I got a question for the chat for William and I answer, because William and I know the answer to this. So the comparison is, if you read in the Bible, it tells you that we are created from the earth and we're the shepherds of the earth. Okay, this is we were taught this at a very young age, which is what I strongly believe. Be yet they want to anybody who lives on the off the land and for the land believes this very same concept, but they're labeled as pagan, or they're labeled as a heathen, or in a whole bunch of other crap. That's the hypocrisy behind religion. They down somebody because they're not believing the exact lines that they believe, even though it's similar, even though it's the same. It's not along those exact lines. So let me ask you guys a question, and this is something that also is involved with a certain branch of Christianity as well. What is the meaning behind smoke? And it's not just smoke. I mean, crows involved, eagles involved. What is the meaning behind smoke? I want to see who in the chat knows this.
It's a good thing Bigfoot Dwarf's not here in the house today. He'd give you a whole new meaning to the word smoke.
I'm not talking about that kind of smoke, Dwarfy. Listen later. I know you want the smoke, but we're not talking about that type of smoke. I want to see if anybody essence in some aspects, but that's not the level that I'm looking at. There's a purpose behind smoke. It's the same purpose that crow, and it's the same purpose that eagle has. So I may not have worded it correctly. What is the same essence, the same purpose of smoke that is the same with eagle and crow? There's a reason why the native people did this before speaking. There's a reason why the native people did this before deliberating. That is, but that's not the one I'm looking for, Amy.
I'm surprised nobody's gotten it yet.
Yeah. Smoke, just like crow and just like eagle, carries your prayers and your words and stuff to the great creator. Eagle does too. Eagle is a messenger of the great creator.
It's a
Crow
conduit.
is, sorry. Eagle flies high. Exactly. That's why you smoke before you do ceremony, before you deliberate, when you ask for guidance, when you ask for help, you smoke. Smoke carries it. Crow can do it too, because crow is a messenger of the great creator. Eagle can do it as well, because eagle flies the highest. He can deliver messages.
Unfortunately, so is owl. Owl's also another one, but owl to the Lakota people is a bad omen.
Well, yeah, because owl was created by the dark one that thought he was. Yeah, because Al was created by the Dark One that thought he was just as powerful and wanted to overtake and be greater than the great creator. So he created a bird that was soundless when it flew. That was the creation of Al. So,
speaking of soundless, did I ever tell you about the time that I thought the Mothman was on the roof of our house? It was late at night. It was like probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I had just got done having a fire outside, and I had just started putting things away and packing things up. And I was getting ready to come inside, and I came inside, and after I made sure the fire was out, and I have this tin or this metal piece that I put over the fire ash so it doesn't blow hot ashes around if the fire is not completely out. So it smothers it even more. And I came in the house, and I was going to sit down, and I hear this thump on the roof. And it's the roof above where my youngest son sleeps. So I go back outside with my flashlight, and I'm looking around, And I walk around the back of the house where the fire area is, and my stack of firewood and stuff that I have there. And the next thing I know, this huge black shaped winged thing literally swooped off the roof of the house. And as it swooped off the roof of the house, it dropped a couple feet just above my head and flew off to the mountains. And I turned around with my flashlight and I shined my flashlight on it, and it literally looked like a huge, the only way to describe it was like a bat, but it was huge and it was jet black.
You know, there was actually a recent Mothman sighting here in Missouri. I can't remember if it was St. Louis or around the Springfield area. It was somewhere around here. I got part of it and I wasn't able to finish up on it, and now I've lost it. But there's been a Mothman sighting recently in my neck of the woods.
Muchetti said he's seen, hey, Muchetti, good to see you. Said he's seen Mothman before too in Flint Water.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the Flint water crisis where the water was contaminated, aren't you? Yeah, and that's not unusual either. The connection, and that's why I say that Mothman is not a cryptid; that he is more of a supernatural entity. Okay, he's one that can go to and from each dimension and each shadow realm. Okay, he is one that can travel wherever he wants to, basically, because he's at a higher vibration. And anybody that's ever had encounters with the Mothman, they can tell you firsthand that he mind speaks to you. And it's if you don't hear him mind speaking to you, he'll interact with you in other ways, whether it's through vibration feelings, emotional feelings, or whatnot. Okay, and he always shows up around where tragedy is going to happen, whether it's one person involved or thousands of people involved. Okay, he always shows up. Is he the ghost of, is he the angel of death? No, I don't believe he's the angel of death, but I believe that he is of a divine realm. Okay, and as such, with any makeup of any world out of all the multiple universes and all the multiple worlds and dimensions that we have currently, each one's going to have their societal things that they have to do to function in that type of a society. Okay, even highly evolved angelic beings have a hierarchy. Okay, and they are assigned certain tasks. Okay, and I believe that the Mothman is like the task of the owl. Okay, it's tasked with bringing forth information about tragic events possibly happening, or to prevent them from happening. If that makes sense, I don't know if that makes sense to Muschetti or anybody out there, but
yeah. Yeah. So I was trying to keep up with the comments here. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's something supernatural. I don't think it's a bringer of death and sorrow. I think it's a warning of death and sorrow.
Right.
It's trying to warn you something is going to happen.
And it's just funny how it's even shaped like the owl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, not all native people believe the owl's a bad omen, but a lot of them do. So, I mean, you can see the correlation between the two.
It gets misconstrued. Yeah, it gets misconstrued as an owl when you see it, but it's a huge, huge being. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, I don't believe it's a bat being. I'm not saying that bat beings don't exist, Josh, but I believe the Mothman is more of a divine entity. And what I experienced that night was not a bat man, or even a bat woman. Um, but I believe it was Mothman. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There you go, Joanne. Says I'm outside walking barefoot in the sun, and it is great. It absolutely is.
It definitely
I love
helps. It
owls.
does help.
I can tell you from firsthand experiences, owls absolutely make zero sound when they fly.
Mhm.
Absolutely zero sound. I've had them fly in front of my deer stand multiple times in the wee early hours of the morning, and the only reason why I knew they was there because I saw them. I never heard them at all. So look how many evil organizations are has got an owl for this symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's we've been getting hearing a lot of that here lately, Carl. They're talking about the new Madras getting ready to go. Yep.
What do you think about that Van Meter monster? The one with the bright eyes that was seen in that small town. Um, I it was a winged being that came out of a mining cave, a miner's shaft that they sealed up, and they haven't experienced it since then. Um, I think that's the if anything is going to be a bat type of a creature, that is like a human form. I think that would be probably be more like it. Don't you think? I'm trying to remember the name of the town. I can't remember the name. I'm so tired right now. I can't remember the name of the town.
I don't have a dog in that fight because I'm not sure I know which case you're talking about. I've been busy and haven't been able to look up cases or reports, so I have no dog in that fight. I can't tell you.
It happened back in like the early. It happened back in like the 1920s, I believe, or somewhere around there.
Mm.
Where a shop owner saw it first and shot at it, and it flew away, and it was spotted on
Oh,
tops of buildings and stuff, and waking people up because its eyes were so bright and shiny.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I can't remember where that's at either. Um,
It,
oh
it
man,
escapes me right now. I can't remember. I don't know. I'm exhausted, guys. It's been a long, long week.
to me, I mean that sounds something definitely supernatural. If it's lighting up the area with its eyes, that's supernatural.
Yeah.
Um, could it be something that's causing fear to feed upon it? Possibly. Is it trying to warn somebody of something? Possibly.
I can't
If it's got,
remember. It's not the van. I'm not thinking of the Van Meter monster, am I?
that might be it. That sounds familiar.
I don't know. Let me know in the chat if if I'm going up the right way there. Um, I know there's a young man that is just had I mean, I think that the festival for it is this weekend, I believe, or the next one coming up. Wherever it was
Hmm.
located, it's somewhere around you, Eric, Illinois, Missouri, that area where it happened. Um,
I think it's Illinois. Because for some reason my mind was going to the Chicago area whenever he was talking about it, and I was trying to remember. So it could be Illinois. And yes, I'm saying Illinois. It's Illinois for a reason. Anybody from Illinois knows why I'm doing it. I'm being honorary. It's not Illinois, it's Illinois. No, it's Illinois. Look how it's spelled. I got a good brother of mine from, we went to boot camp together, SOI and weapons school together. And he's from Illinois. And I used to do that to pick on him all the time. It's Illinois. No. So I'm not really seeing anything. Hey, Riley, did you hear us answer your questions? I was hoping we answered them good for you, bud.
Well, I'm getting exhausted, Eric, and I know you are too, and you got another program to do today. I'm I'm literally just, I feel like I went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson and he bit both my ears off. So that being said, since we couldn't get anybody to come on, maybe we can just go ahead and finalize it for now. It's going on 2 hours anyways.
All right. Oh yeah, we are close to that, ain't we? So I guess I'll start the finalization tonight. I have the pleasure of hosting 1 Foot in the Grave paranormal team. A brother of mine is a part of that paranormal research team. Like to correct me when I say or eat gone instead or gone. It's or gone. So they will be on wheel research van meter. Okay. So I'm going to have them on tonight. They got their technical stuff figured out, so we can finally do the ghost talk that we wanted to do a couple weeks ago. So they'll have that going on tonight. I've been spending the weekend catching up on writing and some other stuff now that I'm not working the extra hours this weekend, and I'm done with that video that's out. That will be released to the public on Friday. It's on the members only right now. Okay. No worries, Manisha.
Definitely, Manisha.
But yep. So we got that going on today, and that's pretty much it for me in a nutshell. William, what do you got going on, buddy? Besides trying to catch some sleep.
I don't know if you all caught it last night, but yesterday, actually early evening, I decided that I had a little bit of extra energy for some reason, and I did a music an hour block of video with some of the music that I just recently made, and I put that out on YouTube and Facebook. So that video is out there. Unfortunately, YouTube has been hitting me with copyright strikes a lot lately, and you know, that one video of the petrified penis that I showed the other day on Saturday's podcast, they hit me for the music on it. So they demonetized it and everything and all that. So I've got it in dispute right now because of the, you know, Fair Use Act, you know, and I didn't play it for any more than 30 seconds, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, they're getting to be sticklers again about that type of crap, which I had a feeling that was going to happen because I got a funny feeling that they're going to be pushing the freedom of speech issue a lot with us now, because times are changing, folks. Those of you that follow me on Facebook know that I put a post out the other day about the mark of the beast is already here, and because the development of the one world religion started way back with Constantine and the whole Roman Empire. Okay. And so that's why, you know, things are happening exponentially. I think that the timeline has been manipulated to their advantage. I believe we're missing at least 300 years worth of history. Okay. And call it a conspiracy theory or not, but I believe that that's actually what we're missing. I don't believe it's actually 2025. It's more like 1700 and something. But that's just me. That's just a weird theory that I have, because they change things at the blink of an eye. And when they fart sideways, they change things too. And but I put that music video out to kind of give people something to listen to. It's roughly about 55 minutes long. So it's the perfect video to play like when you're driving in your car for an hour, or you want just to play something and listen to it and not worry about having to visually watch it. Okay. So that being said, I put that out yesterday. I think it's 4 p.m. I put it out. So this coming week, we will have Into the Red Rabbit Hole again at 11 p.m. Eastern on Friday. I've still got to finish up those 2 videos I'm doing for the members only about the hidden water and all this other stuff. Okay. So bear with me on that. I can only do things as my energy level permits me to. Okay. Next Sunday, open mic Sunday again. Hopefully we'll get some people to come on and tell us about their paranormal experiences or supernatural encounters or even cryptid encounters. Okay. So we'll what did he say? What's that say?
He said, so that totem got William in trouble.
It wasn't the totem that got William in trouble. The totem that I pointed out has a face on it. What got William in trouble was the horny little giant laying there in the desert, is what it was.
Hey, he went out with a smile.
I guess he did. I'm still looking for the yang to that yin.
Hey, man, I can't ask for a better way to go out myself, man. I can't ask for a better way.
Anyways, the quote for the day: if you are spiritually naked in the worst cosmic storm and no shelter from the storm is in sight, what do you do? Question everything, guys. And we'll see you all next Friday. We'll see you tonight on Eric's channel. And, stay faithful, stay strong, stay vigilant, watch your 6, and be prepared to keep your head down. Things are going to get really dicey. Take care, everybody.
Peace, love, and blessings, everyone.
Through the mist we rise, a force unbroken, with banners high and hearts awoken. The sound of pipes, our war is calling. Like thunderous waves, our duty is falling. Stand tall, together we fight, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. In unity our hearts shall sing the legacy of warriors through every reign. With battle cries we forge our fate, in fields of valor we elevate. As shadows loom, our spirits gleam. Brothers in arms, we are the dream. Fearless, we take the night, with courage found in every breath. We'll fight like lions, defy our death. In unity, our hearts shall sing the legacy of war. dawn breaks, we know our name.